2019 is without question the year of Disney, and that's not even including Marvel, Lucasfilm, or Pixar. The Lion King is the third Disney live-action remake to come out this year, and with it, does complacency start to set in? Unfortunately, I would say so. So stick around and find out why The Lion King 2019 fails and why Disney may be entering some dangerous territory. Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to Men vs. Movies. I'm Griffin. As always, if this is your first time checking out one of our videos, consider hitting that subscribe button where we take on the best and worst of cinema on a weekly basis. If you are new to the channel, this is not normally how we shoot our videos. Usually I have a proper camera set up, we've got everything looking fancy, but today I thought in order to discuss The Lion King, we had to have a proper discussion, and so that's why I'm using my webcam, and that's why I'm joined by channel regular Tyler Tompkins. Tyler, how are you doing? Are you ready to discuss the biggest disappointment of the year?
Yeah, dude. I mean, it was such a big disappointment. You had to call him for backup. I'd say we're both ready to talk about this movie and talk about why it's so bad.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to point out it's semi late for me. I'm on a weird sort of thing right now where it's like I'm like jet lagged, but I'm like also like a little bit removed from that, and it's also I've been recording stuff all day, and so this is like our 90th take doing this.
Yeah, and I'm still thinking about Midsummer. I just saw Midsummer, and I'm kind of in that world right now, and
yeah.
you're forcing me to talk about The Lion King, so it's a really weird I'm in a weird place. You're in a weird place, but we're gonna talk about it.
But yeah, but the most important thing is The Lion King failed as a movie, and it didn't just fail as a movie. It failed as a reimagining of the original 1994 animated film. It failed to be entertaining, and it failed to capture the magic that you would expect coming from a Disney film. And I wish I could say that this is, you know, the exception. This is the only Disney live action film to suffer from this, but unfortunately it's not. But it just so happens it's the worst example of it because, and this is going to be point number one here, it is legitimately a shot-for-shot remake. There is nothing new that is being brought to the table here. It is The Lion King as you knew it from 1994 when you saw it. And for some people, they might enjoy that. For me, it just begs the question, why? You know, because if you were going to do a live action remake, why not change it up a little bit or add a spin on it to make it different? I understand that the original one is perfect, that the story is flawless, it's one of the best films of all time, one of the best animated films of all time. So it's like you don't want to change that because it works, but then it just, you know, you circle back around and you're like, well, why are you doing this in the first place? And that was the question I had on my mind the entire time watching this film. I don't know, what did you think, Tyler?
Yeah, same here, man. I mean, you and I had seen all of the trailers for it, and we were both excited because it's The Lion King, you know, and people were talking about how, you know, visually innovative it was going to look, and there's a lot of hype around it because it's, like you said, it's one of the best, not only one of the best animated movies of all time, but I would say it's one of the best movies of all time. You know, it's a classic. People quote it all the time, sing the songs. And for the most part, I've enjoyed most of Disney's live adaptations, even though they aren't perfect.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, like, you go back, like, Beauty and the Beast wasn't good, but that was also another instance where it was like the source material was already, I mean, my God, the film was nominated for Best Picture. So it's like your source material was already perfect, so you didn't want to mess with it too much, but by not messing with it too much, it's just the same thing. And the stuff that they do add in there is either weird, or they'll take some stuff out that just doesn't make sense. Like they're either taking out like important points. So the decision making regarding these films, and specifically The Lion King 2, is really weird.
Yeah, it's funny too. Something I'm noticing with these live adaptations, it's the classic animated films that are really the most dull or the dullest ones. Like you were saying, Beauty and the Beast, The Jungle Book. John Favreau's The Jungle Book, The Lion King.
Right.
I didn't hate The Jungle Book or Beauty and the Beast, but they were pretty dull compared to movies like. I know Dumbo didn't get great reviews, but it was still way different than the animated movie.
Yeah, I mean, Tim, whether.
And then even Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland, I know it didn't get good reviews.
Right.
It's still way different than the animated movie.
Well, that's the thing. It's like with films like Alice in Wonderland and films like Dumbo, while they strike out, they aren't. You have to commend them on trying to do something different.
Yeah, because they do feel like different movies, similar yet different.
Yeah, exactly.
That
which
makes
is
sense.
actually, and that that brings me to Aladdin, which I think Aladdin is the perfect example because for me at least, it followed the similar story, but it really made it its own. There were a lot of colors. There was a lot of Bollywood influence in there.
Exactly. Will Smith was great. I thought he was great.
Right, absolutely.
He was like the life of the movie.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and they play it into the whole Agrabah, like bachelor romance kind of thing, which was fun. It was like Hitch and Agrabah, which that's great. And I thought Guy Ritchie infused enough style in there without it being overbearing. Like the film has,
and there was a certain energy too in that movie. It was never boring or anything like that. There was an energy in it, which is what The Lion King was lacking, dude. There was nothing there.
Right.
Like I think you said this earlier, or we talked about it earlier. It's like soulless, dude.
Yes,
there's nothing there,
right?
man.
Which is that's going to tie into point number 2, which just I guess to put a cap on point number 1 here. It's it being a shot for shot remake makes it uninteresting. This is probably the perfect segue into point number 2. It's even more uninteresting because their approach is with photorealistic animals, and so there's a problem. There's a problem that comes with this. And many people will probably point to The Jungle Book and be like, "Oh, well, they had it there," but what they also had was a human character for you to latch onto. But anyways, point number 2, the other reason the Lion King didn't quite work is because there is a barrier between the way an animal emotes and the way a human emotes, and so there's a barrier there where like me as a person, I can't look at this animal and look at their face while someone is like doing voiceover.
Yes, it's screaming. Like, no, it just looks weird.
It's really bizarre. And this is what I said walking out of the film was this is a nature documentary with weird voiceover, and like the animal's lips are loosely matched up to the dialogue. And it's funny too, man. Like, I thought Seth Rogen and Billy Eichner were great. I'm sure we're going to talk about them later. But for the most part, all of the other actors like Donald Glover, Beyonce, and a few of the other people, their performances weren't really that great. And a lot of it was because of what you just said. Like it's awkward. It looks awkward. That's the thing, First of all, it takes forever to get to Donald Glover and Beyonce.
Yeah, they must have filmed their stuff in like 3 days, dude. They're barely in this movie at all.
Nothing.
Which is a shame.
And they they're given nothing, and what they are given isn't the greatest material. And when you have that paired with the fact that it's like it's like just looking at a lion with someone yelling over it. I think, and the worst example of this is Mufasa's death.
Yes. Oh, dude, it was terrible.
It's laughable. It's just really silly. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because and this is something else that they tried to do in the film is they take these photorealistic animals, and then they're like, oh, we're going headfirst into realism. We're gonna make this as legit as possible, and like animals out in the wild and whatnot. But then they'll take like some cartoony elements from the animated film and apply them to this real world, and it doesn't make sense. Like the zoom in on Simba when Mufasa dies, or like Mufasa going backwards and screaming. It's just like, it's just weird choices. And I get wanting to be faithful to the original, but it's like you also have to think about what makes sense in this world you've created.
Can I ask you something real quick? I just thought of this.
Yeah.
This would have been a really risky move by Disney, but I think it may have paid off more so than what we ended up with. Do you think the movie would have been much more effective if they had done no voices whatsoever?
You literally stole the words out of my mouth, because what they should have done,
that would have been an excellent experimentation. That would have been excellent. Even if it was a shot-for-shot remake, that would have been very interesting to watch.
Right. Well, completely. What they should have done is, and they have all of this technology, and the film is gorgeous to look at. Like, don't get me wrong. Yeah. It is going to push the medium forward. It is going to revolutionize filmmaking.
Yeah, it's scary how good it is. Like, legitimately, it's scary how good it is, because like next is actors. They're gonna start bringing people back from the dead. Like, it's crazy.
They already are kind of doing that, you know.
Yeah, it's true.
But here's the thing. So, like, this is exactly what I thought walking out of the film. If they had taken what they did, get rid of the voice cast, just use the score and have it be almost like a silent film, and take all of the fantastical, not fantastical, but like the cartoony homages that they have in there, take those out of it, literally make it like a legitimate silent nature documentary driven by Hans Zimmer's score. That would have been,
dude, that would have been awesome.
So interesting. It would have been bold. It would have been different yet familiar. But the problem comes down to how on earth would they have marketed that? You know, it's like it's
a problem. Yeah. I don't know. I think it still would have made a lot of money, because because with what they did, dude. I mean, they're just kind of going off the name alone with the shot-by-shot remake. It's that in and of itself is kind of lazy to me.
Yeah. So moving on to point number 3. So obviously, you know, shot for shot remake. These photorealistic animals can't really emote the same way the hand-drawn animals with, you know, human features can. And I think that's the perfect segue into point number 3, which is the fact that this movie has no personality. It has no directorial stamp. There's nothing in this that, you know, really made me go, wow, okay, Jon Favreau, I see you putting your spin on this story. The film is very workmanlike, and I don't understand why, because the least they could have done was just put a lot of vibrant colors in here. I know they're trying to make it as realistic looking as possible, but they also don't fully commit to it. So I like, and the thing that comes to mind for me is I just can't wait to be king, because it is, when you compare that with the one that's in the animated film, it is so dull and lifeless and boring, and it just sounds like it's just these lions running around with background music playing, and I'm like,
it doesn't mix well. It doesn't mix well,
and I'm
at
like,
all.
well, maybe you should have taken the musical numbers out, like. But then you can't do that.
It's almost,
it's just that's part of your draw.
Yeah, it's a problem, because that's the problem. Like, the Circle of Life was really good, obviously. I mean,
that was really well done.
That's a good opener. It was really well done.
I will say, though, I
for the
didn't
most part.
like. I wasn't like wowed by it. Like, I was wowed by the visuals,
no,
but
either.
like it didn't. Like, some people were having like a very emotional reaction to it. I didn't.
No, me either. It was. I think they could have done Madge as, you know, a nod, but everything else, like you said, it didn't really work. They even changed. Can You Feel the Love Tonight? They even changed that up.
It takes place in the day.
Like, it's not even it made no sense. And that one too, if you compare it to the animated one, it's just like, it's laughable,
right, which
dude.
like, and I'm sure there will be people in the comments section who are like, well, why are you comparing it to the animated one? And I'm like, you can't help it, but it's also the same.
It's a shot for shot.
It's legitimately the same story, shot for shot, but missing everything that made that original film
Yeah.
special. There's no magic. There's no personality. There's no colors, and it just makes you frustrated while watching it. But also, my God, this is point number 4. It's boring. You're the
Oh, dude.
entire
Yeah.
time I'm watching this, I'm like,
Yeah.
it's boring because I could just go home, watch the original, get a much better experience, and I wouldn't even have to leave my home, you know?
Oh yeah, and I think this movie too is an indicator. I truly do. I think it's an indicator of how cocky Disney has gotten. I really think it is, because a movie like this is terrifying, dude. Just see, because like you said, it's missing all of this stuff. They're just relying solely on the name. That's why they made a shot-for-shot remake, the soundtrack, getting all of these talented actors. Like, oh yeah, we can just throw Beyonce and Childish Gambino. It's scary. That's why I'm kind of glad it's getting a mixed reception from at least critics. I still think people are going to go out and see this, and it's going to make a lot of money.
I would
Maybe.
like to believe in, audiences, because I mean, so I don't think I think sometimes marketing departments and studios, they're very, they have this very arrogant way of looking at the general movie-going audience, and I think that's part of the reason why we got the movie that we got.
Yes,
I have a feeling
agree.
that people are, there are people who are really going to like this, and if you do that, that's great. Like,
Yeah.
I understand why someone would like it, because it's The Lion King, but I would also understand if someone walked out of there and they were like, okay, so I saw the same movie I could have watched at home.
That's the thing. Like, even if your average moviegoer goes to see it and ends up loving it, and their kids end up loving it, I don't know what's going to make them pop this version in over the animated version.
Many people will say, well, it's not made for you. It's made for the next generation. And then I go, okay, then why don't you care? Why don't you put the time and effort into trying to make this an incredible experience, the same way that when we watched that first Lion King, that was an incredible experience, instead of just literally copy and pasting the exact same thing. It's
Yeah.
Take some risks, which is what I love what they're doing with Mulan. This is a little bit of a tangent, but I love what they're doing with Mulan, because it is
Excellent. Yes.
it's not going to be a musical. They're
I was scared it was going to be like, Aladdin, this jump, like, all of that, but it looks
I mean,
completely
it's
different.
it's taking its own route.
I wish it looks like it's taking a note from like how the first Pirates of the Caribbean came out. It was based off of a ride, but it looked like this really cool, authentic, swashbuckling movie. Whereas the other live adaptations that we've gotten, they just they're not. They're not good.
No,
They're not
I
good.
agree
None
with
of
you.
them
They're
have that
very
authentic feel.
It's just very subpar, and I feel like if it,
those lazy.
ticket prices are expensive. It's an experience. You're going with your family. You got to pay for everyone. You got to get concessions. Not everyone goes to the movies every weekend. Why would you go to see something that is just bland? You want to experience something. You
That's
want
what I'm
to be
saying.
wowed, and I just have a very hard time believing that people will be wowed by this, other than the visuals. Now, I get it. Seeing those lions in IMAX is unbelievable, but that's all the film has going for it. It's just
And after a
visual
while,
spectacle.
it got old, man.
And
It starts off really cool, but for me personally, 30 minutes into it, I was like, okay, I'm ready to
that's
go.
the thing. It's numbing, and I mean, it's crazy that happens when this
That
stuff
should never
right.
happen
I mean, this
when
stuff
it's
is
in full IMAX.
right,
Yeah.
and it's you're looking at a world of visual effects, and it looks like you flipped on National Geographic. I mean, that's
that's essentially what
it's
happened.
crazy.
It was
Yeah.
like, okay, let's change the
Yeah,
channel.
I mean that stuff blows my mind. To kind of bring this home here now, I think point number 5, which you kind of touched on a little bit earlier, what was the voice acting. And a lot of people are going to praise the voice acting, and I think it's a hit or miss thing. I think some of the voice acting is good, some of it feels like it just feels misplaced, and especially when it's dubbed over these weird actions of the animals, it just doesn't feel right.
I think a lot of my friends are going, or they're not really excited after I told them how it was, but they were mainly excited to go and watch this because of Donald Glover and Beyonce. Those are the two big pools. I think they're going to be disappointed.
They're going to be very disappointed.
I think a lot of them are going to be very disappointed.
Beyonce has a song in the middle of this that just makes absolutely no sense. It doesn't even work. It's horribly placed. That would have been a great end credit song, you know. But
it's not a bad song or anything. It just doesn't really fit in the movie.
But going back to the performances, the one that really just disappointed me to no end was Chiwetel Ejiofor as Scar, because
I was upset with that too, man. Yeah, I was too.
Ejiofor is a great actor. He has a presence, but it felt like the role was too big for him, which is bizarre. But also at the same time, you look at Jeremy Irons' original portrayal as Scar, and it's just, there's so much life and personality and character in that vocal performance, and I got none of that from Ejiofor. It was just very bland, safe. He almost underplayed it to a detriment. And
I didn't even know it was Chiwetel, man. I went and saw with our good buddy Sean Chandler. I had to ask him who it was, man. I didn't even know.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, you have someone like that, and you know, not even comparing it to the animated film. Let's compare it to something a little more reasonable. Let's compare it to Idris Elba as Shere Khan, because that's something where, you know, if Idris Elba had given a similar performance to Chiwetel Ejiofor, it wouldn't have been effective. But Idris Elba really went in on that and bolstered his performance, and was very menacing. He had a strong presence. I never got that from Ejiofor in this film, and I don't know whether there was like poor direction on Favreau's part, or whether it was just the creative choice that they made, because we all know that Chiwetel Ejiofor is an excellent A+ actor.
He's one of the best. He's one of the best. He's so good.
In the business. So yeah, that choice didn't work for me, and
that's why I think it was. I think a lot of it was directorial, behind the scenes stuff, because you have such talented people, and a majority of them it didn't really work.
There's one more that I want to touch on. It's not necessarily the performance was bad, but once again, it was probably the worst example of like uncanny valley a little bit. Zazu, John Oliver. First of all, John Oliver is playing a bird. So you're not going to get a lot of emotion out of a bird. And so while his delivery was fine, it just felt like he was like just talking, and this bird was just doing shit.
It was totally mismatched.
It was very.
It felt like weird narration when we watched the bird fly around.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was. But you know, with every negative, there is usually a positive. And so in terms of the voice acting, the positives I would say were definitely Billy Eichner and Seth Rogen. In fact, I almost considered leaving this movie after the death of Mufasa. Actually, I maybe even considered leaving it after I Just Can't Wait to Be King, because I was bored out of my mind, man. But they come in and single-handedly rescue the film, and it's not like
it's like a completely different movie. Like
it's not like what they're doing is anything exceptional. It's just it's mildly amusing and entertaining, and you feel like Rogen and Eichner are having a fun time. So you're like, okay, I'll stick around. I'll watch this.
Yeah, it was amazing, because I was kind of dozing off for the first half, and then they come on the screen. I was nervous. I was terrified, dude, because up to that point I was like, this is really not that. I'm not really not that great, but they just brought this energy out of nowhere. Yeah. It didn't it didn't make the movie 10 times better or anything, but it made it much more watchable, much more entertaining, because they had such great chemistry, and it seemed like they were having a blast. Yeah. It seemed like they were just having the best time ever. A lot of people were saying like, man, I wish we could have got a Timon and Pumbaa spin-off movie instead of having this Lion King remake, and it probably would have been a lot better.
Yeah, it probably would have been, but at the same time, it
still would have been weird. Type, soulless type of movie.
If it would have taken the same approach, it definitely wouldn't have worked.
Would have been much more watchable though.
because it's Eichner and Rogen, and so that's a good point there. I guess to kind of put a cap on this whole thing, like, look, guys, it's not a bad movie. It's just it's nothing. I walked out of that film and I felt absolutely nothing. I was like, yeah, that was The Lion King with great VFX work. I'm going to applaud those artists, but there's no directorial vision. There's no personality. There's no colors. It strips The Lion King of everything that makes The Lion King special, and we get this bland, like you said, soulless just project that is clearly out of all of the live action remakes, this one especially is clearly Disney just trying to capitalize on nostalgia. And it's not going to hurt them. The movie's going to make a bunch of movies, or much of movies. The movie's going to make right,
hopefully not.
No, please, hopefully no
not.
more.
Yeah. No.
The movie's going to make a bunch of money, but I hope that the audience reception, I hope they realize that this isn't the kind of entertainment that we should be getting from a studio like Disney. We need to be getting quality stuff.
Yeah, just make more original stuff. I truly think this movie, even if it makes a lot of money, I think it's just kind of gonna come and go. Like, it's just gonna kind of be nothing.
I hope so.
In a few years.
Yeah, I hope so.
A lot of nobody's really gonna be talking about this movie just because the original was so much better. I don't know how anyone would pick this over the animated movie ever.
And therein lies the problem. It does not justify its existence. Where I understand some people are like, well, a movie doesn't have to justify its existence. But I will counter that by saying when it's literally the exact same film.
It does nothing, not one thing. Not one thing.
It does absolutely nothing. Before we give you our final verdict on The Lion King, why don't you take a second here and like this video, share with your friends, and subscribe to this channel if you feel so inclined for more movie and television related content on a weekly basis. Tyler, verdict time. What are you going to give this bad boy on the Men vs. Movies rating scale?
This one's definitely getting a revive needed.
Boom. And you know what? I'm going to push you there because I needed a revive after watching this film. About fell asleep walking out of there. No, that's an exaggeration. But there you have it, guys. Those are our final verdicts. Revive needed for The Lion King 2019. And hopefully you will all understand why, to us, this is a movie that just failed to be what it could have been or should have been, or just it failed. It just fails. Just fucking, why do you exist? Like, go away. I think I'm gonna leave that in there. I'm just kidding. But the most important thing is, guys, what did you all think? Be sure to let us know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments section below, and let us know your favorite Lion King character as well. Thank you, Mr. Tyler Tompkins, for joining me as always. Tyler, where can everyone find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and all social media by searching my name, Tyler Tompkins, and follow me on Letterboxd. That's where I talk about movies a lot.
He's going crazy over there on that Letterboxd, right?
Everything, dude. Everything I watch, everything I see. I just crossed 200 movies for the year.
Holy shit, you're beating me.
Yeah, not new movies, but just movies in general.
I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed to say that you're beating me. But anyways, guys, you can like Men vs. Movies on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter simply by searching Men vs. Movies. And lastly, if you like me specifically and you like what I have to say, you can give me a follow on Twitter at Griff Schiller. All right, that's going to do it for this review, I guess, / rant / just discussion of The Lion King 2019. And until next time, take care.